Hi, my name is Tanya and welcome to my small backyard vegetable garden here in central Victoria. I have waited long enough, or as long as I can, for these potato onions to form up, and today's the day they are coming out. I think by the change that has happened in the last couple of weeks, I think if I had had a bit more time to leave them, then they might have formed up a bit better than what they already are. They needed a spot where they could be left to just grow. So today they are coming out and I am fully prepping this bed for planting up the many seedlings that I have that need to go in the ground. We've got a couple of cooler days coming up and I want to have this bed ready and watered in for the seedlings to go in and recoup on some cooler days. These red banana shallots, only 2 out of the 4 I think I planted did anything, and they were a bit immature as well. I will chop all these up and freeze them and just use them that way. It is interesting that, I could have planted somewhere and just left a bit longer, that they probably would have done all right. But we're going to move on and dig this garlic up. I am a bit upset that I didn't get this dug up a couple of days earlier before the rain, because now they're quite damp, quite muddy through the roots. But I'm going to allow them to dry. I think these ones that have split open, I will probably use for planting again. These aren't too bad in size. This one had already rotted off at the stem, so they definitely should have been dug up probably a week or so ago. It has been so long since I've had some decent garlic harvests, and this is one variety. It's the white hardneck, and I've never grown it before, so this is the first time, but I will definitely be keeping some of the cloves to plant again. They really haven't done too bad. Now, this is an elephant garlic. I had, I think, 3 bulbs of elephant garlic, and another one broke off in the storm back probably a month ago, and I pulled the bulb out and I've had it sitting aside. I'm not a fan of the elephant garlic. I'll move on from that. It was good to try it, but this hardneck garlic I will replant again. That one there's a bit smaller. And a half decent size, this one. The soil is looking really nice, but I do need to raise the height of it a bit, and I'll be adding in cow manure, ready for planting out what I think will probably be squash and zucchini and some more capsicums and lots of different things, because as you might have seen, I now have a mesh arch. So after getting all these things dug up, I will be getting that in place. I'll get these chopped up and in the freezer, and the garlic can dry. And here is the mesh that I'm going to use as an arch this summer. I can't wait to get it in place. 2 of the 3 cauliflowers we were able to harvest, we have enjoyed eating. And the kale got chopped out. It was overshadowing this calendula here, and this little tiny indigo rose got a little burnt on our very hot days, so I've put a cover over it, and the chard has rushed to seed. So it's time for all of these to come out so that I can prep and plant all the melons. I will miss the colors of this chard. And the lemon verbena has come back from a shift and many frosts. These romas that I planted originally are doing wonderful, and these purple climbing beans are just loving the weather we are having at the moment. They're making their way up the mesh. These pansies have been absolutely beautiful, but today's their day also. I need to get and put a bit more fill down along this edge where they've sat, because the rest of this bed has been top dressed, but I went around them. I'll just put a little bit of fill in there so that I can get some more capsicums along that edge, like the other side. And these are them, 3 more redskin dwarf capsicums. And they'll just go in the same place down this side. These romas really need pruning. I'm moving on to get this mesh in place. It's going to be a bit of a fiddly job. Anyone who has moved mesh on their own knows what I'm talking about. I have to try and level it the best I can. One bed is lower than the other. This ground is on a slope, so it's a matter of trying to get it sitting as square as I can, and walking on the garden bed is not my first preference, but it's the only way that I can work and get this done. By the time the mesh is in, these beds will be all prepped and ready for planting. The prospect of that is just so exciting, I find. I am debating on taking out the chard this end. Some of it has gone to seed, and I might just cut my losses, pull that out, and move the dianthus that are there. That is the end I really want. The corn that I sowed a couple of weeks ago, and it is ready to go in. Just trying to get along this edge so I can have the mesh flush up against the garden bed. and it is pre-bent. It does make it easier because I'm not pushing against the tension, but it still is a fiddly job. Getting some stakes in to help it keep to the side, and a left-handed hammering is a good challenge when you're right-handed. So there was a couple of hit and misses, but I got there in the end, and one in the center, and that stops it from bowing over further towards that garden bed. Now to get the soil back in against it, standing on it, digging it, I really do not like disturbing the soil this much. And get the straw back over the top. Having this extra vertical space is going to be so good. It's like having another garden bed. Got some composted cow manure I'm getting over the top. Normally I would be putting bags of mushroom compost and replenishing it with that. It does help to hold the moisture in the soil, but I have none as yet, so I'm hoping to grab some of that and I can just pull back the straw and put a bit of that around as well. I've got some dynamic lifter and some blood and bone. Just going to put a bit of that around. And some dried and crushed eggshells. This is meant to be really good for the worms. It helps them digest. And I've got some worm castings. I'm going to put a little bit of that around. Just mix it all in. And get this straw back over. I mulched the other end very thickly so that the straw would have a chance to have some rain and the sprinkler on it, so it started breaking down. And then when you go to spread it out, it spreads out much easier. Moving the last of these edging tiles. Doing the same here, and as you'll see with this is a fresher pea straw and it does not spread as easy. When it's starting to break down, it means that you can open up a little spot and get something planted a lot easier. But I'll get the sprinkler going on this and that won't take too long. Now I've got a little bit of leftover blood and bone and dynamic lifter, and I'm just going to use it up rather than having it sitting around in a bucket. Put it around a few things. This will be the next garden bed that I aim to top dress and get going. I have some flowers in seed snails that really need to go out. Got a little bit extra for around the rhubarb. The capsicums that I planted in my last video are doing really well. I went through and removed all the flowers. It was tough, but you gotta do it so that they can get their roots down in the ground. And I've taken the covers off the Japanese climbing cucumbers here because they are starting to vine. I'm so glad to have this arch in place and 2 beds ready for planting up. It's been a very fruitful evening in the garden.